I'm so glad that, Sony just decided, yeah, we definitely need a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, which we've talked about several times over. But
Yeah.
it's like, goddamn.
Hey, hey, at least the rumored Days Gone remastered wasn't a thing.
That's true.
At least yet.
Yet.
Uh, Apparently it's going to be a thing. I don't like it, but it's going to be.
I don't know. I just don't. Like, it's like they're just playing the recenty stuff or whatever, but it's like, why? It's like you have so many other ones or whatever. It's like even in the stupid Lego fucking Horizon game,
Horizon thing.
they showed off some like the older ones. Although I guess there were just like Sackboy and Ratchet and Clank, and that was it. Good ones
Not a
though.
whole lot. Not a whole lot that showed off the power of the PS5 Pro, that's for sure.
I love how I was talking to my brother about that before they started. I was like, since they did, just the 20 or the PlayStation 4 stuff, like when they
Hmm.
originally showed off the Pro, how much do you want to bet they're going to show off the PS5 games? And I was 100% correct on that. And they look very, very, very marginally better, if better at all.
Yeah.
I I don't know.
In either case, it's doesn't justify the thing for more than $700 or whatever the fucking price of the PS5 Pro is.
Yeah, it's 700. I don't know.
Good lord.
I just I'll never understand. We've been over that. We'll just never understand it. But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know. Was there anything from the state of play that you thought was interesting? There was a couple of games I kind of thought were interesting.
Eh. I mean, are we now in the midst of the podcast now, or
So what?
uh, is this going to be included, or have we not started yet?
We can. I was like, this can be a podcast. That's why we're
Okay.
recording.
Well, fuck. Um, whatever that new Ghost of Tsushima game,
Oh, that Ghost of Yotei or what I think it was.
Yotai or whatever. I mean, that looks fine. I still
Yeah.
haven't played the first one,
Me neither. But
but
from what everyone said, it was really good. So I assume this will be about the same.
yeah,
So that one looked kind of interesting, or looked interesting, but again, I haven't played the first one. Midnight Walk looked kind of interesting.
yeah,
It's like I don't know, it was like a horror-esque indie game in a way. I don't know, that's the best way I can describe it. Reminded me of like almost having that like Nightmare Before Christmas like animation style.
yeah. That's always fun.
Also
Dude, speaking of,
creepy as hell.
dude, I feel like I'm in the grand minority when I say this, but every time I see something new come out of the Silent Hill 2 remake, it makes me even less and less excited for that game. I don't know. I think it like visually it's almost okay. Aside from that, I just don't think it looks good. I just don't.
Did they show off more for the Silent Hill? Did I just miss that?
That was I'm not sure if it was a part of the state of play or whatever. I saw there was a new gameplay demo that came out where it showed off like a good 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay, and it's I don't know, it's just rough looking. I'm not getting good vibes from that game at all, and I feel like that game's biggest fans are going to be the people that have never played Silent Hill 2 before,
Probably.
which is fine. You get to play it now, get to experience that amazing story. I just feel like so many things have been lost in this remake.
It's always one of those things where it's just like it was. I feel like a lot of people felt that way about like the Resident Evil 2 remake
Yeah,
initially, but then like once people actually like played it and it was really good. I don't know if that'll be the same thing with this one, but it's like it might be,
possibly.
possibly. It's hard to tell.
Maybe I just need to get my hands on it myself. I don't know. I'm pretty thoroughly turned off by what I've seen so far.
It's fair.
Anyway,
It's like I feel like it was just like one of those games where it's part of like what made it so scary, made it so spooky was just like how I don't know. It's just like that old type of feel, I guess, is what made it so
The
spooky in a
crunchiness
way.
definitely
Yeah.
definitely added to it.
It almost gave it like
It's
the what is it? I mean, like that's why it's like analog horror type thing
mm.
is a thing right now or whatever. It kind of gives that like crinkly sort of like feel to it, where it's just like old but feels.
One of the
I don't know.
comments that I thought really encapsulated one of the things about how I feel is like, uh, sure the game, sure the game it looks newer, but the fact that the PS2 or whatever, the PS2 had a lower render distance really added a lot because it made the fog look more realistic. Where in the fog in the remake it looks like just like an artificial barrier that you can't see behind. It doesn't behave like you think fog would. Let me see if I can't find that video and I'll show
I
you
mean,
what I
I'm
talk.
looking at it. I'm looking at one with like a guy just playing it or whatever. I see what you mean with the fog part. It just
Mhm.
it really does look like kind of like the little like fog doors from like Dark Souls games where you walk into and you're gonna go fight a boss.
It just doesn't lend itself well to Silent Hill 2, I think. And you see how everything gets so clear once you get past that like barrier of fog that they put up.
Yeah, it just
I
kind of
just
goes away rather than like sticking around.
I just don't like that. I just can't vibe with how the game looks. I maybe I'm being too, I don't know, picky, too bitchy
Yeah,
about it or whatever.
picky. You know, it was one is a word I think that definitely could be a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just like again, it's just that when we think like the Silent Hill 2, it's just like
Hmm.
you think about the terror like that ensues or whatever. It's like you like well, what you're thinking about the fog or whatever. It's like not being able to see like 5 inches in front of your face is terrifying because
Yeah.
all of a sudden something just jumps out in the middle of it. That type of thing. It's like oftentimes why Amnesia, like the Dark Descent, was always such a like a terrifying game
Hmm.
back then was that like the darkness was scary. Like you didn't want to walk around without like a torch around or a lantern because you hear like you couldn't see much. You start to hear like the crinkling or whatever. Like things get a little distorted as you're looking around. It's like, did I see a monster as I looked around the corner? I'm like, no, but it makes you think you did type thing. It's that build up to something could be around the corner. Something could be right in front of you. You can't see.
Yeah. The original camera also really lended to that atmosphere because it's like you could only see from certain angles. Where with the third person camera in this game, you can just peek around corners to see if there's a monster there or not.
Yeah,
It looks like it plays like the Resident Evil remakes,
yeah. That's
and
absolutely what the
like
vibe I get to.
like I've kind of been saying from the start, I just don't think that's going to blend well into Silent Hill.
Well, the thing is the two like both Resident Evil and Silent Hill are both
Hmm.
horror games. It's they have two distinct types of horror. I feel
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Resident Evil's like, oh, the zombies are of course terrifying and like in the
Hmm.
liquors and everything like that. Doc, um, uh, Mr. X or whatever, just like constantly prowling and kind of getting view. But and it's like more of like hearing it rather than seeing it, right? It's like there's never
Yeah.
like you can kind of see things or whatever, but it's like but it's the corners you couldn't see around, or you hear Mr. X like coming up because you hear the dun 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 of his heavy footsteps kind of coming up, and you're like, where is he? Which way is he
Hmm.
coming from? Type thing, that type of thing. Whereas Silent Hill is just like I don't want to say
It's
jump
a
scary, but like
No, in Silent Hill, it is still very atmospheres focused, and
yeah,
it's a game where you really, really tried to avoid combat as much as humanly possible, which
yeah.
just really wasn't what you wanted to do in Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know.
Resident Evil. You're gonna have to fight your way through some points, whereas like Silent Hill is just like, yeah, maybe you just want to try and avoid it.
Again, this may just be like a bias of mine because I'll be the first to admit that I never really played the original Resident Evil games, so when they transitioned into these like newer styles, I could adjust better because I had never experienced Resident Evil 2 clean before. Whereas with Silent Hill 2, I've played through this game many times at this point, and seeing this version, it looks like a completely different video game.
Yeah,
It
I think that's probably a good way to describe it. Is like it just feels different from the original.
yeah.
Whereas I feel like 2's like, again, I never played the original Silent or Resident Evil 2 as well, but it's like I did play the remake of Resident Evil 2 and it was good. And I look at it like comparison, it's like, yeah, there's like some things missing, like you were saying with the fixed angles from being able to see the and everything like that, but it's like I thought that they did a good enough job that it was okay to not have those things. Would it have added things? Probably.
I don't know. This is very much. It's one of the remakes where I will give it a shot. It's a remake though that I think is going to have to prove itself to me, because at this point in time, I'm not really willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. So I'm waiting for it to surprise me, is what I'm saying. I'll get my hands on it, and we'll see where things go. And again, I feel like I'm in the vast minority when it comes to this. A lot of the people, seeing this gameplay and seeing the trailers is like, oh man, this looks amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And maybe you understand. I just don't see where they're coming from.
I think it's just like that. The idea of Silent Hill coming back is I don't know, exciting people or whatever in a way, and it's just like, and this is like, considering that for as long as Resident Evil's been like a thing, in with 7, and then like they've redid 2 and 3, and now 4, and then 4. So it's like, oh, if Resident Evil's going strong right now, it's like, well, let's bring back Silent Hill, let's bring back the classic horror games type deal. But
the last couple of Silent Hill games before this that Konami has released, though, have been absolute trash. I don't see where that same confidence is coming from.
Yeah,
like,
and I think it's just like that people are fascinated by the idea of, oh, this is Silent Hill 2, this is the good Silent Hill.
I guess so.
And it's like, and if they're looking at the same thing, like kind of like Resident Evil is, then it could be good. Type thing. But again, like we said, it's like it feels like they're two different types of horror games or whatever. And it's also kind of crap. And for you and me as well, it's like, when you don't have the original creator there to work on a remake, it feels like it's going to be harder. It has more to live up to than like Resident Evil does.
This is also a game that I expect both you and me are going to approach in vastly different ways, because you've never played the original Silent Hill 2, right?
I have never. Nope. I've only ever like watched bits and pieces.
So you're going to be able to play this game, and for you, it is going to be a completely new experience. I'm going to approach this basically knowing everything about the game already. So I'm going to have a lot more to just compare the remake to. And I'm willing to bet with a lot of people, as many, boomers as there are in the general gaming audience, I feel like a lot of people, this is going to be their first experience with a Silent Hill game. Because the series really hasn't had like a mainline release since like the Xbox 360 era, dude.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. So yeah, it's got a lot to live up to, but like I would see where you're coming from or whatever, like just nitpicking little things or whatever, but it's like I don't think it looks terrible. It's just that yeah, it's just that like I don't know, going back to, I guess, our last episode, where it's like sometimes you just got to take off the rose-tinted glasses, though, or whatever, and just go like, I mean, maybe, I was like, and then like, oh, you look at this new thing, it's like, well, I remember the last one was terrifying or whatever, and like this one won't be as terrifying. It's like, but it could. You just never know.
I guess I just got to see more what they're doing with it, I guess.
It's also one of those games where I feel like it's time kind of passed or whatever. It was like always one of those games that's going to live in like, Gaming Legend is like one of like the things that established horror games pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's just like the idea of trying to remake a game that had that such an impact in a certain genre of gaming is like incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like somehow Resident Evil was able to do it and do it pretty well. It's like 2 was good, 3 was short. I think it would have been better if it was longer. And 4, I haven't played 4, but it was like, I mean, it's 4. It's regarded as the best Resident Evil game, so I assume it's probably pretty good.
The issue with this too is with the devs of the Resident Evil remakes, I feel like they also have a lot better track record than Bloober Team does. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I don't think they've released like a really critically well received game as of yet.
That is
Like
true, I guess.
they put out the Blair Witch game, and that game is pretty much universally disliked by everyone that's played it. There's that weird Xbox Series X, exclusive that they put out at the beginning of the gen. I can't even remember what the fuck it was called. I played like an hour of it before putting it away forever. I don't know. I'm gonna let it go. I don't want to talk about Silent Hill 2 anymore. It looks fine. I'll just leave it at that. It looks very fine.
Okay, now that just real fast, now that I'm looking at like a little comparison video to like between like the original and the remake or whatever, I see what you mean by the fog now. It's like the fog feels more menacing in the original than it did in the remake.
It feels thicker, and something else that I've kind of noticed is you just have a lot better view of things. Like when you went into the like you're seeing gameplay from when they go into the like hospital or the gameplay complex here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see pretty well in front of you. In the original game, you can see maybe a few feet past the main character, which you could see as a downside. It's like, well, I don't know where the fuck I'm going. Well, neither is he in this situation.
That is true. You're seeing it's like you're seeing what the main character sees, and again, it comes down to it's a style of the game basically where it's just like that. The idea is that it's supposed to terrify you because you're not supposed to know what's coming around the corner type thing. Like that's just what it is.
I'm just looking at this, and it seems very bright and clean looking, and that just doesn't jive with what I come to expect from Silent Hill 2. And it's like, I'm not saying that it's impossible to make this work. I just have to see what that result is going to be in the final product. And who knows? Maybe I could put start playing this, and it just looks different from this early, gameplay footage. Maybe the fog looks a lot better when I'm playing it in person. Maybe it's a lot, the environments can come across as more dark and menacing when I'm playing it in person. Maybe the enemies really, make me piss myself like they did in the original game. I'm not saying any of this is impossible, and I'm not saying what I've seen looks terrible. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's so different that I don't know what to think of it yet. I think is where I'm coming from as of right now.
Yeah, it's like you think you look back and you go like, oh, it's just a different feel, and you ask yourself, it's like, well, I like that. Hard to tell.
And I think with the Resident Evil crowd, I remember when Resident Evil 2, the remake, was coming out, a lot of people, I think you remember this too, a lot of people weren't, cool with the not fixed camera angles anymore. They're like, this game doesn't play anything like it used to. And then the actual game came out and everybody loved it. So this may just be like a similar thing.
Yeah, I think it's that, like, when you really think about it, it's that you have to remind yourself that it's not like a one-for-one remaster type thing. This is a remake in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, I look at it similar to like when people complained about when Final Fantasy VII was getting remade or whatever, and it wasn't going to be a turn-based combat anymore. It was like people got up in arms about that, but then they actually got their hands on it and played it and watched how it played, and everyone loved it. So it's the same thing. It's like, well, we want it to be as close to the original as possible, but at the same time, it's like, because when the original Silent Hill 2 came out, it was limited by the tech of the time, so they used the limitations as a scare factor in a way. Whereas now they can go more on it and make the environments a little creepier, a little bit more fleshed out, the fog a little less menacing as a result of that, but it's a different type of feel. So could be something like that.
I may also just be, a shitty pessimist right here. That's also a distinct possibility.
It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like whenever I'm like looking at like those types of games or whatever, it's like when it comes down to remake, especially remake of a game that I enjoyed or something like that, I tend to find I'm more critical about certain things or whatever, and then when I go about playing it, I go, oh, this is fine, type thing. Like looking at it before, it's like you want it to feel like the original, you want it to be exactly like how you remember it, but it's not going to be the case. And sometimes it can, turn out fine, and other times you go like, that definitely could have been better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
I do want to say something positive before we move on from this too. I do want to say that the sound design that they have in the gameplay demo itself is very, very good. I will give them that. The sound design is top notch from what I've heard.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So that helps a lot too. Something else that Konami could do to, appease, shitty rose-tinted motherfuckers like me is maybe release like a modern port of the original game so that so we can play it outside of just playing it on the original PS2, because there's just not a way to do that right now.
Well, and it's also just like, let us compare it to the original type thing or whatever. It's like you don't need to make it look like amazing or whatever. Just port it.
Yeah, I mean that's completely fine. I think a lot of people are going to compare this to the original regardless, but
I know, but it's like for the people who haven't played the original like myself, it's like it'd be cool to play the remake and then go back and play the original and go, which do I like better? It's like, will I like the remake more because I played it first, or will I find the original more terrifying because, like we said, of the different designs, of like the fixed camera angles and everything like that? Who knows?
Tangent I didn't think we'd go on. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, you good. We were talking State of Play before that.
Yeah.
So I assume you saw the Alan Wake 2 expansion again with the lake house. Still have to play that game.
Very, very excited for upcoming expansion. Dude, the physical edition, the deluxe edition is coming out in October, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Very excited for that to get here.
Nice.
That Hell Is Us game looks interesting. Whatever that is.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Looks kind of like a Souls-like if it was made by Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I thought too. I was just like, man, is this Souls game is kind of interesting. I like how Shadow Generations is getting a DLC for Shadow. I was like, what? It's a weird one, just to promote the movie.
I think it's funny that game's getting DLC. The fact that even though it's not out yet.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Yep. I mean, that's pretty fucking awesome still. The fact that it's getting movie-based DLC.
Yeah. I was curious. I'm like, I was like, where the hell are we going to see Shadows pop up? Or is he going to be like, oh, Shadows joining Fortnite or something like that? And I'm like, well, this is probably better.
Yeah, way better.
Like, other than that, I was like, the thing that the game that I really was looking forward to was actually Dynasty Warriors Origins, As somebody
Yeah.
who is a hardcore fan of like the old school Dynasty Warrior games, I'm so glad to see them like, I don't know, like uh, Toy Tecmo or whatever, um, go back to actually like hopefully making a good Warriors game and not just like work on third party ones.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this will actually be good. It looks good. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think so too. That being said, I wouldn't mind if they made another Pirate Warriors game. You guys, that's also 100% an option.
Yeah. I mean, they made some like great third party ones where it's just like spin-offs like Strikers and Pirate Warriors, stuff like that, Eve Hyrule Warriors. But it's like, man, I
We
really
finally
miss
get a new Dynasty
I
Warriors
really
game
miss
now.
Dynasty Warriors though.
Yeah.
It's been a while since there's been a good one released, or even one just in general. I think when was the last time a Dynasty Warriors was released?
I don't know.
I feel like it's been years.
It probably was like late PS4. There probably have been games that have come out that just haven't been very good. Because I think there was.
I know there were some that weren't definitely not very good.
Dynasty Warriors 8 was PS4 era, and that one was really good. I know Dynasty Warriors 9 came out at some point, and
Yeah.
that was really, really bad.
Yeah, it looks like 9 was the last one that came out, and it was back in 2018.
Yeah, and I think they. Yeah, that game was very, very bad. I was told by basically everybody not to play it.
Yeah,
Then-
I think my brother played it for a little while, and he said it was really bad.
Then I think I think they just had a whole bunch of spin-offs. You obviously had like Fire Emblem and Hyrule Warriors. You had the Dragon Age games,
Yeah,
the One Piece games too. Yeah, they
Fire Warriors.
So
Like
they
they were working on stuff.
yeah. Just this is the first like mainline Dynasty Warriors game that we've gotten though.
Mm-hmm. The first one in what will be 7 years.
Yeah.
So that was the
game-
game I looked forward to in this one.
You know, something that I didn't expect to surprise me as much as it did. I actually think that Dragon Age the Veilguard looks okay. At least from what I've seen. I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Indifferent, I guess. I've only ever played Dragon Age Inquisition,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
I only
that game
played
was
about
great.
I think I only played about like half of that, and I don't know. It was fine. I just wasn't really vibing with it. Like I was more of just like I mean I see the qualities of the game pretty much, but I wasn't like I was just like I'm okay. Honestly, I could stop playing and I would be fine, and I did.
Yeah, it's a type of game that I think not a lot of people tend to jive with. It's a very acquired taste, if that makes any sense. And I had fun with it. Don't get me wrong, but I think what the Veilguard is doing is gonna appease more people that maybe didn't have any interest in Dragon Age before this point. Based on the few like preview reviews that I've seen so far, they say it's also a good intro into the series.
I can believe that.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to be excited at the exact same time. I said I was that I need to be surprised by Silent Hill 2 before. I need to be even more surprised with Dragon Age of Veilguard because BioWare has not had a stellar reputation these past few years.
Yeah, they definitely got. It's an uphill battle for them.
Like I think their last like positively received game was Dragon Age Inquisition, and when did that game come out? That was like
PS3. Well, was it PS3? It might have been like early PS4.
it was PS3. I think. I think it may have been like that late PS3.
Oh, I don't even think I
early
played it on
PS4 era.
PlayStation. I think I have it on Steam. Honestly, let me look real fast.
It came out in 2014. So it's been 10 years since they released a game that anybody's liked.
Oh, my bad. It wasn't Inquisition. It was Origins.
Oh.
I thought it was Dragon Age Inquisition. Turns out it's Origins. Sure. Was that game regarded as any good?
Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Origins and Inquisitions are seen as the good ones anyway. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Dragon Age 2 less people liked, but it was still fine. I mean, it wasn't fucking Mass Effect Andromeda or Anthem. That's for damn sure.
Andromeda, what's that game? That never happened.
Dude, I like how basically every Mass Effect fan has just collectively forgot that Mass Effect Andromeda was even a thing.
Exactly. It's like it just never happened. What are you talking about? Never happened. I always find it so funny. I was like, I know they can only like work on maybe like one game at a time and stuff like that or whatever with BioWare, but it's like because they've been working so long on Dragon Age, on like the Dragon Age game, like Veilguard or whatever the previous one, if it was just Veilguard in general, it was that like, remember when they put out like the Legendary Collection for Mass Effect and they said, oh, more Mass Effect on the way.
Basically, it's going to be years before we get another Mass Effect now.
So
I think they're kind of waiting to see how the people react to the Veilguard.
That's fair. I don't know how many more flops EA will give BioWare at this point.
No, I think a lot is hinging on the success of this game.
It's true.
So I'm hoping it works out for them.
Yeah, I just have no
attachment to the Dragon Age series.
Yeah, I have no attachment to the Dragon Age series. Like, I've heard people say that they're not too big of a fan of it right now. For the people who are actually fans, but maybe that's just the internet being pessimistic. It's definitely very much a possibility.
Well, no. So a lot of the complaints that I've seen is, aside from the with the other Dragon Age games, you could control your party directly, whereas in this game you're just going to have control over your character. It's very God of War-esque in its combat, is what I've seen people say about it, which is not how Dragon Age games have ever played. So it's a very different game in the series. And I think this is BioWare's way of, modernizing it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just see what general reactions are.
Yeah, I think it's really what it comes down to. It's like, I think people are just going to have to get their hands on it and see whether or not they actually like it or not. I don't know. It looks like every other Dragon Age game I've ever seen, so I'm just like, I'm good. It's like, yeah, other than that, it's like, I don't know, a lot of games I didn't really care about.
Why the fuck is Lego Horizon a thing?
I don't know, because Lego just wants to make money, I guess.
Maybe I'm sorry I'm being such a pessimistic bitch this episode, but what's even the point of that? I'm looking at this preview of it, and it just looks so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good. It is, because that's pretty much what it is. Is that it's like, oh, we could do a Lego version for little kids, so that way they can experience get the general idea of Horizon while also being cool and funny with Legos.
It doesn't look like Horizon though.
Exactly.
It doesn't look like a traditional Lego game either.
No, it doesn't. That's why it's like, I don't get it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. That's my issue. I still don't even know what I'm looking at. The whole thing just seems so dumb. Not as dumb, though, as Lego Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. So what are your thoughts on this, now that we've seen it?
Unnecessary?
Yeah.
I was like, when you can literally play it on the PS5 right now, and it looks almost no different from the original game. What's the fucking point?
Play it on PS5 at 4K 60 FPS already, and it looks almost identically.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people, defend this, being like, well, it's only like a $10 upcharge if you own the original game.
A $10 upgrade for visuals of a game that you've already played.
that really isn't that much of an
Hey,
upgrade.
guess what? Most games on Steam that offer that are free.
Yeah, it's the same situation as Last of Us 2 remastered, right? It's like, oh well, it's only a $10 upcharge. Yeah, but why pay the $10?
If you have the choice to not pay the $10 or pay the $10, I would not pay the
Yeah,
$10.
no, it's such an egregious waste of money. And my issue with this is the same issue with that. Why did they waste any dev time on this? Like, this still must have, at the absolute very least, this was months, if not years of work that they put in on this thing. To achieve what? A somewhat slightly better version of a game that already looked great on the PS5? The fuck is the point of any of this?
Who knows? Yeah, it's really just one of those baffling things where you sit here going just like, but why? But why? I don't know. That's really what it comes down to. Is it's just unnecessary. It doesn't need it. That type of thing. It's like, yeah. Other than that, I was like, not really. Nothing really all that crazy from thing or whatever. It's like the Ghost of Yotai was obviously the big reveal
Yeah.
of the thing or whatever, and that's cool. But other than that, there's a few things here or there, but it was fine. I just like how, on the same week that Pal World is getting sued by Nintendo, they announced they're coming out for place on PlayStation 5.
I have to believe that Nintendo's not going to succeed in that.
I was like, who the fuck knows? They wouldn't do this if they weren't confident. That's my only thought process.
If they do succeed, then fuck Nintendo for doing that.
I either
absolutely...
that or they're gonna just say, we're Nintendo, either back down or we're going to ruin your entire lives, basically, and then hoping that they'll take the bluff or something like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
The thing is, it's like a lot of people thought initially, it's like, oh, because these things look like Pokemon, that's why they're suing them. That's not why they're suing them.
Yes,
apparently,
yeah.
Nintendo wants to, copyright the game mechanics of that is, capturing a creature and then battling them against each other.
Oh, so RPGs in general type thing.
Basically, just like the Pokemon type RPG, they want to copyright that. They want to make it so that no one else can do that.
So real fast, should Atlas be shitting its pants for ReFantasia when like demons and personas and everything like that are sued in a similar way?
I guess. I don't know. It's
should Square Enix be getting scared because of for the new Dragon Age remake or whatever, because the idea that RPGs and stuff like that, like it's stupid.
I think Nintendo is just thinking, well, they're an indie company, so we can bully them. I absolutely hate game companies that want to, copyright game mechanics. That just restricts creativity for the rest of us so much.
And it's a slippery slope.
So angry. It is. Because, they succeed in this, and all of a sudden, this one thing, the one game that managed to be a somewhat successful, like Pokemon competitor, that's just gone now because, Nintendo says, well, you can't make a competitor. We want to own the competition.
Well, and just think about, if Nintendo can get away with this, then all of a sudden other publishers start doing it or whatever. It's like kind of like what, WB did with the Nemesis system or whatever. And there's a reason why no games use the Nemesis system, because nobody wants to pay for the fucking patent, basically. So it's like, but so imagine like EA said, oh, we're going to patent the Dragon Age type combat or whatever, where like controlling your party members, or like the combat systems of that or whatever. And it's like, well, what? Or like Sony says, oh yeah, no one else can have like a God of War-esque thing or whatever, where you throwing around an axe or whatever have Spartan powers or anything like that. Like what are you talking about? Like that.
It's like, where were you supposed to?
Where do we draw the line?
It's so annoying to see stuff like this happen, because it's like with the Nemesis system too, it's like, what an interesting and cool gameplay mechanic. And now since EA refuses to use it and no one wants to license a game mechanic from EA, It's like that great idea
Hey,
is just
WB.
dead in the water. WB.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good.
Now that great gameplay, mechanic is just dead in the
It's
water.
dead.
Nobody can use it, and it's never shown up since like the Xbox 360 era,
I
basically.
mean, the only game that I've ever seen utilized it was the Shadow of series, like Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. Like those are the two games. Shadow of Mordor was the game that built the concept of the Nemesis system, and Shadow of War just took it to the next level. And then in that same time period, WB said, "This is such a cool mechanic that nobody else is doing that we're just going to take for ourselves, and anyone else that wants to use it to jump on this trend or whatever is going to have to pay us." So rather than greenlight a third game or greenlight another DLC for Shadow of War, nope, we're just going to make money off this. Hey, guess what? Nobody uses it, so now you're just sitting on a patent that does a fucking nothing other than just be a giant pain in the ass.
So fucking annoying, dude.
So yeah, but it's just like, oh, all of a sudden Nintendo's just like, oh yeah, we're copywriting over the idea of Pokemon, basically. And it's like now we're saying that Pokemon is its own type thing. The thing is, though, Pokemon's not a new thing. If they wanted to patent Pokemon, they should have done it over 20 years ago.
The thing too is like this this patent actually wasn't approved until after Pal World had already come out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how are you going to sue them over this? But like you said, if they weren't confident that they could get away with it, they probably wouldn't be doing it.
There's a reason why they didn't initially, like the instant that Pal World was announced or released, that they went, oh, we're going to sue you for general look of your pals or whatever, because you're clearly just copying Pokemon or whatever. And it's like, there's a reason why they didn't do that is because that they didn't feel confident. Like their lawyers just couldn't say for the definitive fact that they were going to win or bully this indie company enough to force them to settle, basically.
But now they're seeing, this with what's going on with their patent, and they're thinking, oh yeah, well, we can get away with this now.
And
We can probably.
Even if we can't win, we could probably bully them enough.
That's what I think they're hoping for. I think they're hoping to push Power World into a corner where they really don't have an option but to fess up, because
It's
Nintendo just has. Yeah, Nintendo just has resources that Power World does not.
Yeah, it's like they it's like they can talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, we're driving up a legal team, and I really hope the best for they can actually find a legal standing and beat Nintendo with their own game. That'd be great. But yeah, that's gonna be easier said than done.
I also just generally dislike the idea of these large game companies bullying indie developers over stupid shit like this.
Nah, that's dumb.
Because a lot of these indie studios, even the Pal World studio, there was no guarantee of success for them. It's like if that game
Absolutely not.
went belly up, that probably would have been the end of that studio. So with a lot of these games, they're already taking a massive risk, even just doing what they're doing in general, to have that success and then immediately have this follow it. It must be so disheartening, dude.
It's like it's one of those things where it's like, from here, where do you go from here? It's like you rally the troops, basically. You rally the people that are fans of the game or whatever, just to try and be on your side or whatever, and hopefully that you can just pull out a win against Nintendo. It's gonna be tough. Yeah, I hope this doesn't become a recurring theme though. By Nintendo or anybody, whatever. It's like all of a sudden we're having lawsuits over who has the rights to certain game mechanics. It's like that just sounds awful. Like, so like it's funny to think for how long gaming's been a thing, like that's never really been a thing unless it's like been absolutely 100% obvious that you just copied and paste this, which there have been those cases in the past, but they're pretty obvious. Pal World, not so much. Like, maybe a little similar from here to there, but like, it's still its own thing. It's still doing something different.
You don't see Charizard or whatever running around with an assault rifle and some shit like that.
Exactly.
So, state of play. You Want to get a PS5 Pro now?
Oh,
Did it
absolutely
do it for
not.
you?
I was trying to think the last time I turned on my PS5, and I'm like, it was probably when I tried playing Rebirth when it originally came out. It's just been sitting here otherwise.
Jeez.
Same thing with my Switch. It's like, when was the last time I turned that thing on? It's been a while.
I mean, I personally still get a plenty of use out of my PS5, but just nothing in that show really made me go, oh yeah, I'm gonna need to get a PS5 Pro for this, because Ghost of Yotai looks fantastic. I think it'll look fantastic just running it on my regular PS5.
Yeah.
How's the Pro gonna help this game at all?
Well, I sat here and just going. Always sit here and I always ask myself, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
they can't just make games specifically for the Pro or whatever, because then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, why did we make the PS4 then, or the PS5, the original PS5 then, and whatever. It's like, you can't just push people out like that. So it's like, clearly you have to make games that can run well on both the original 5 and then the Pro or whatever. But it's like,
Yeah.
at that point the Pro stuff will be so marginally better that it's not even worth it. Like, I just don't like, if you have a PS5, there's no reason to upgrade.
No.
There's just no reason to upgrade. Now, if you're buying a PS5 for the first time and you want to just go balls in, sure, I guess a Pro is going to be where you want to go. But like, even then, it's like, are you willing to spend an extra $200 on something that's just marginally better than the original?
I think we also discussed this at some point. I think we've kind of hit like a graphics ceiling almost. We're very.
It really does feel like we've kind of hit that ceiling, and until something absolutely bonkers happens, like, it's not going to get much better than that, right? Like, considering that when it comes to AAA games, they tend to just go for the realism side rather than an art style or anything like that. It's like Ghost of Yotai is an example of sort of pushing graphics, but in a stylized version of that, where it's doing the more traditional Japanese route in a way, where whereas you look at like a game like God of War, it's like they're just trying to be as realistic as possible or whatever. But in essence, that's what games gonna have to be.
Like last episode, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And it's never been. I guess the thing that's I'm so hung up on. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here. Is it's never felt this pointless with a generation before. It's like, I'm sure with like the PS6 or whatever, they're gonna be like, oh, you can play games in 8K now, 8K 100 FPS or whatever, and it's like, how much is that really going to upgrade my experience? Because 4K already looks so good, and this new technology is still so expensive, and these games still look and run fine on the base hardware. It's like with PS4 you had a lot more limitations that it just feels like the PS5 and like the Series X and obviously PC just don't have.
Yeah.
So you look at these upgrades, and they just seem so much more pointless than I feel like they did like a generation ago, even.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my interpretation of what we've seen so far of the PS5 Pro or whatever.
Yeah, no, I feel like that is the point. It's like, with the PS4, it was like they were still catching up with the PCs or whatever, in a way where it was like, it was good, but it still wasn't quite there. PS5 is probably as close to a PC as you're gonna get for console, or Xbox Series X and stuff like that. Like,
for most people, yeah.
It's like, if you don't want to spend the money of a console to get console like gaming, or to get PC like gaming.
Yeah.
I think I fucked that whole point up, but you get what I'm saying.
If you want to get like a PC performance without paying for a full PC, No, I
It's
get where
like
you're
get a
coming from.
PS5, get an Xbox or whatever, and you can play like that. If you literally are just gonna play video games on it,
Yeah,
then that's fine. But if you're like, I also use my computer for other things or in a way, it's like then it might be. Thing is because the PS5, because the Xbox was cheaper than buying like a pretty good PC or whatever, it was worth it if you were just going to use it for gaming.
hmm
With the Pro, it's like you could buy a good PC for that same exact price and you have the PC
yeah.
with it. It's like I think I built my computer for like I think it was 800, 850 or whatever because I
Mm.
spent a little bit more,
Yeah.
but it's like it
No,
runs
I
games
for
great.
I'm in the same kind of boat where I paid a little over 1,000 for my PC. I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'm not really sure where we go from here.
Oh yeah, I don't either. And
Because
but if I had to guess, it's like more stylized stuff rather than realistic stuff.
so I think it's gonna we've talked about this again like last week. So we don't need to go too far into it. It's gonna be interesting to see what the next generation of consoles looks like because I think that's very much where the industry is going.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the more stylized and the less like, oh, look at how pretty we can make our graphics or whatever. I very much sense like that's where things are going.
Look how pretty we can make the graphics, and look at how big we can make the games. I feel like at some point some games will go in the opposite direction or whatever. That some AAA studios will learn the lesson that we don't need to make everything 100 plus hour open world major experience type thing. It's like we can do like a 20 to 30 hour game or something like that. That's smaller scale. That's more on rails. That's isn't like pushing the graphics to super realistic and go for more of an artistic style.
Definitely, definitely. I think Ubisoft actually, of all companies, learned that the hard way because
It is very funny that you say that because that's exactly what I was thinking.
with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they were like, "Oh yeah, the graphics are super good. The open world is huge, biggest open world of all time, hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay." And basically, everyone was just like, "It's too goddamn big, man. It's too goddamn big, and the water, it's too goddamn shallow. It's like, what are we even doing here?" And
Mm-hmm.
as a response, they made obviously Assassin's Creed, whatever the fuck that game was called, Mirage. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And now obviously we have. I didn't even know what Shadows is gonna be like. I feel like I know so little about that game.
Yeah, or even like look at their other games. Like they put out like that Prince of Persia game or whatever that
Yeah.
is like that as well, or and stuff like that. It's interesting to think that I think slowly and surely the studios are learning, and maybe more so publishers rather than studios, but
Yeah.
like it is just that they're learning. It's just like we don't need to make everything 100 plus hours. We don't need to spend 8+ years working on a game. We don't need to be doing this. We can spend anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 years with way less money on a project that isn't as long, isn't as big as we made games in the past, but is enjoyable as is a super enjoyable experience that people will pay maybe not $70 for, but like $40 for, or like $30, $40 for, depending on how big the game is or anything like that, or how much you market it.
We're definitely starting to see like the beginning of that transition. I think it's going to be
It's gonna be a slow one.
it's going to be a slow one, and I think for a lot of publishers, it's going to be really difficult because they're looking at this as like this is completely different from what we've been doing the last few years. It's so outside of what we thought the gaming industry was going to turn into, and I do think it's a positive, turn of events though, as opposed to like everything's going to be like 100+ hour, open world game or a live service that nobody likes.
And partially the reason I say that it'll probably be a slow transition as well is because we do have GTA 6 on the horizon coming out. So it's like that when publishers
Yeah.
see the profit margins that will bring in, they're going to say, build us a GTA 6. And it's just not going to work out. And they're going to spend
No.
way too long for a game that's not going to be nearly as successful, and is just gonna like hardcore flop.
You would hope that most publishers
You'd
are
hope that
gonna
they'd
look
be
at
smart
that
enough not to try that,
and,
but
and be like, okay, well that's GTA though. It's not like we can't just make our own GTA. But considering when GTA 5 came out, Ubisoft was like, oh hey, we can do that, and then they put out Watch Dogs.
and it's also the idea that it's just like, okay, well, we also have to look at how long and how much money Rockstar has spent on this whole thing or whatever. Like, this has been a 10+ year excursion type thing. They probably spent who knows how much money, but it's a fucking lot. I can guarantee that. And yeah, they're going to make bank for it, but it's
It was a huge investment.
If it wasn't GTA, this should be a huge risk for Rockstar to take. But because it's GTA, people will buy it.
Yeah. No, like you said, I feel like this is a lesson that a lot of publishers are going to learn the hard way. And it is going to be a slow transition, and man, GTA 6 really is going to fuck up a lot of shit, but man,
we'll see what happens as a result of it.
We'll see, yeah.
But if I had to guess, is that some publishers are going to go to like their biggest studio that they have and say, build us like a GTA type game or something like that, like this big, massively open world game that we can market and update for 10+ years and people will love and play and everything like that. And then the studio is just going to go, no, what? No, we're not going to do that because we're not Rockstar.
That's the thing that scares me the most. I feel like a lot of publishers are going to see that success. They're going to demand these studios that have no experience making a game like this, just go out and do that. They're not going to give it the money it needs, and it's going to result in like huge studio closures. And basically everyone's going to be like, we're not Rockstar.
Bitch, we told you so.
We told you so. We don't know how to make that type of game. This was always destined to fail.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be so frustrating to see. But now that you've mentioned it, I can just see that happening so clearly, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
Oh yeah, that's why it's like, yeah. I was literally saying it, and I'm like, oh well, I say that, but I'm like, man, it's like GTA is really gonna fuck this up. That's all I thought about, and I'm like, oh man. But I mean, hopefully you. Like we said, it's like hopefully they would be smart enough to realize it's like, oh, we can't do that or whatever, or that's huge risk that there's only Rockstar could really take.
These investors aren't really known for being super smart. They're the same people that let Concord exist.
Exactly, and that's why I sit here going just like, I would hope, but we will see.
Dude, the fact that game cost over almost $500 million to make.
God, yeah.
And now it's resulted in this.
I assume you saw like the clip of
shit.
like the dude like talking about the Concord stuff. I was like, not that we need to go shit on Concord any more than we already have, but like it's just unreal, like just the expectations that Sony had for it and everything like that, and it was just like, whoa. Whoa.
That did not go how anyone was hoping it would.
All I know is that they're out of a lot of money.
Yep, they are. So, being real, do you think, especially now that the game director's left, do you think that game's ever coming back?
No. It's like maybe for whatever reason that like they go, hey, who's ever the skeleton crew that's still working on Concord or whatever, see if you can come up with like a really cool pitch that might keep the game alive type thing. Like they're going to do like an Anthem thing where it's like, hey, convince us that we shouldn't just completely scrap this thing. And Concord people are just going to go, well, I guess we'll get paid for another like, I don't know, month while they give us this time or whatever. And then just go, yeah, we got nothing.
Gives us plenty of time to start looking for new jobs.
Exactly.
Bro, that's so fucking sad.
I know, but it's like
Jesus
I
Christ.
just the more you look at Concord, the more questions just arise that like
Yeah.
what in the world were you thinking? Like they thought this was going to be like Star Wars-esque big, like what?
It's insane. It really is insane.
I don't know who was smoking what, but man, give me some of that. Anyway, like I said, let's not just shit on Concord for the rest of the time.
No.
But one thing, bringing back to the conversation we were having, as well, is like, oh, you know, with like publishers, like, you know, trying to like, well, make us GTA or whatever, and it's like crazy to think that, oh, you know, a game like Pucky Squire came out or whatever, which is like, which is just like, oh, it's a, you know, short-esque like Zelda inspired kind of like almost kind of like a. I don't know, people like they probably saw like Cuphead and they were just like, oh, we'd love to make something like that type thing, but in our own way, where it's like very artistic style and very cool looking.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, these are the games that need to exist more. And like, it's like, could you imagine if this was given to like a AAA studio and says, hey, in like, make us something like this in like
Pucky Squire.
like Pucky Squire basically, and you know, we don't need to make it like, you know, like 100+ hours open world type thing. It's like just like a cool little like kind of like side scroller-esque like puzzle dungeon thingy or whatever with like a really cool artistic style. It's like these are the games that like need to exist. Especially if AAA wants to, you know, still have reputation at some point in their life.
That's one of the reasons why. Man, I think it was really cool that Xbox allowed, you know, Pentiment to become a thing.
Yeah.
It's like Obsidian is a really talented studio that you know is making like a big game with, you know, Avowed or whatever, but they just went to leadership and was like, hey, we have this cool idea for a video game. It's going to be a smaller game made by a smaller team, and we're not sure how much of a pull it's going to have, but it's a cool idea. Can we make it? Yeah, sure, whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, who can we take or whatever? It's like we need like this, and this type thing. So I don't know. It's weird to think that it's like seeing kind of the general thought process of like, at least from outsider perspective, looking in at what Xbox is trying to do and what they say they want to do, considering, you know, what they did with, you know, with Hi-Fi Rush, or what they attempted to do with Hi-Fi Rush at least, was like, that's not okay. But at the same time, it's like they talked about like wanting to put indie, like bigger style indie games onto like the Xbox or onto the Game Pass or whatever, and it's like that should be how you should take it, to fill that in between gap between big games and stuff like that. But that doesn't also mean, you know, at the same time you say that, also, you know, say yeah, Hi-Fi Rush and, you know, that whole studio, bye bye. You don't do that. That's a no.
I still don't get what the fuck they were thinking with that.
Yeah.
The fact that was bought out by like the PUBG, you know, publisher, and was like, oh, hey, we're gonna make, you know, Hi-Fi Rush now. Cool. It's like, now you guys get to make money off this.
I mean, what that tells me is that Xbox has either, one, it had no confidence that they could actually sell it for a halfway decent price, or two, that anyone would be interested in it, which I think is just absurd.
Just leadership over there in general sucks. And I think a lot of it actually comes down to the idea of that a lot of these big publishers have of, you know, short-term gains rather than, you know, the long-term investments when it comes to these studios, because it's like, well, we can cut down staff or, you know, close these studios and make more money now, or we could, you know, invest more in them, let them flourish in hopes of better gains down the line.
Or more of just like, okay, if you don't believe that you're going to invest more into this thing or whatever, I don't know, put it out there, see if anyone wants to buy it, see if anyone, even if you get like a fraction of what you paid for it or whatever, still money back in the process. To not even do that, just to say, nope, we're shutting down. What? That's more along the line of what I get at. Is just like okay, I get it. You don't want to put more money and more time into this because you're being penny pushers and stuff like that and being giant assholes. But at the same time, I sit here going just like, but you don't think that anyone else will be interested in buying, a pretty big indie game for you or in a studio that's done really well for you in the past. Nope. Bye-bye.
Well, I'm glad that at least, Tango's no longer shutting down. I'm glad they're actually going somewhere instead of just being shuttered.
Yeah. Are you interested in playing that Metaphor ReFantagio game at all?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I was
Very
like,
much so.
Did you see that they announced a demo today? That was like the first 4 hours of the game or something like that?
I saw it on Steam, yeah.
Yeah. I told him that to my brother, and he was just like, oh, fuck. I was like, I was gonna finish up episode Aegis this weekend, and now I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Dude, this game looks so fucking good. I did. This kind of was a game that came out of nowhere for me. I almost completely forgot it was coming out, and now, oh, cool! It's another Persona, or another Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
Type game.
Yeah, Atlas, you better watch it back because Nintendo's on its way. They don't want you summoning things or whatever because that's Pokemon.
No, they have a big publisher like Sega backing them up. They're not gonna come after Sega.
What are you talking about? That's the Pokemon thing. That's why Nintendo's suing Palworld, right?
Oh yeah,
I
mean, the difference is that they don't know if they can get away with suing them or not.
Yeah, it's
They're
like,
not
we don't want
studio that they can relentlessly bully.
Yeah, it's like we don't really want to piss off Sega and stuff like that. It's like they have actual power.
Yeah. Go play Metaphor ReFantagio.
Yeah, just go try it out. It's like the demo's out. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy it maybe right away. I probably will eventually, but
yeah,
I got shit I need to play.
I'm the same way, but my god, dude, it looks so fucking good.
But it's always the thing
so
is
good.
If I'm not gonna play it on launch, then
don't buy it at launch.
Yeah, that's why I'm I'm probably not gonna buy it straight away.
Yeah.
So it's maybe one of these times if I see it on sale or something like that, it's like, oh, I'll probably consider it. But I think as of right now, it's I still got Rebirth to play. I still got Alan Wake 2 to play.
Dude,
it just piles up.
You're good. I get it.
Shit just piles up.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
So, anyway, thank y'all so much for listening to the podcast and everything like that. I just had a stroke for some reason. All right, we didn't actually have a stroke, but close enough to it. Well, yeah, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and everything like that. And yeah,
thanks for watching, listening. Listen to more episodes wherever you can find podcasts.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff now.
I've been Alex. That's my buddy Andrew.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Man, we really fucked that.
I mean, what is an outro anymore, right?
There are some weeks where we forget to do both an outro and an intro.
So did we even do an intro this time? I don't think I did one.
No. At some point, I just asked, "Hey, has the podcast started yet?"
Yeah, you